Hi, my name is Stephanie Nelson, and I'm a senior admissions recruiter here at Rochester University. Before we get started, I want to thank you guys all for joining us to our webinar series focused on our accelerated learning program. If you'd like to learn more anytime during this video, you can scan that QR code on your screen, and it'll connect you with one of our accelerated learning recruiters. We're joined here today with Dr. Carol Cooper, the chair of our Department of Mass Communications. She's here to talk to us about Rochester University's Accelerated Mass Communications Program. Hi, Carol. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Very welcome.
We're so excited to learn more about this degree. So can you start by kind of just giving us an overview of the degree and what can students expect to learn out of this program?
The degree is a series of 8-week semester courses. And when a student comes in with an associate's from another institution, or we have some articulation agreements with places like Specs Howard School of Digital Media, then we help complete your degree. What we do is offer the core courses that give you the foundation for the theory behind mass communication. And really, you already are coming to us with some practical tools. We're giving you tools about methodology, about research, about theory that really will round out the beginnings that you started at your previous institution.
That's great. It seems like there's a lot to learn within this degree. And I know mass communications is such a diverse field. And so we see a lot of our students coming from a lot of different backgrounds and have a lot of different experiences. How does our accelerated mass communications program meet that level of variety?
One of the things that we have built into the accelerated degree program are some business communication and some marketing classes, because we want to acknowledge the skill sets that come to us, whether it's graphic design, broadcast, digital, print, and we want public relations as well. And we want to help support those skills. And so very often students realize they're on a particular trajectory, that they are not going to stay in the part-time and for some people full-time job they currently find themselves in, and they want to advance in some area of mass communication. Some people are working freelance and are even anticipating starting a business themselves. So we have found that business communication is very helpful, and the marketing classes are very helpful should a person want to go in that direction. And it's just kind of realistic in the way that people in the mass communication field today have to know it all. We have to know how to write. We have to know how to speak. We have to know how to produce. We also have to know how to work with clients. We have to know how to work with other employees. So we're trying to meet the individual's sort of mind, body, and spirit kind of holistically for their future. And I also would add that we've designed the degree so that if someone has an associate's from another institution and they realize they're interested in mass communication, they can take this degree and be successful. They do not necessarily have to have any mass communication background. So if they haven't been exposed to media writing or broadcast or graphic design or digital media, anything like that, it does not matter. We give them the core courses that they need. And then we have this emphasis on what we call marketing communications, when you think you probably will be in that area of the mass communication industry.
That sounds great. I can definitely see the benefit of adding that marketing communications component to a mass communications degree and making the student even more marketable. I guess that kind of ties into my next question is there's a lot of different fields and how broad the field mass communications is. So what are some expected career opportunities or jobs that students can expect to have as a title or can get into with this type of degree?
Okay, well, I'm going to start with a very basic level. I recently was talking to the CEO of one of the advertising companies in Birmingham, and he said to me, "Can your students write and can they speak?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Do they know how to give a handshake?" And that kind of made me sit back, and he said, we have a lot of people who come in with a lot of knowledge, but they don't have some practical communication skills. So this is a good degree if you're just interested in working with the public in some field, not necessarily what you would say a professional mass communication field. But if you enjoy communicating, then this is a degree that can help you. Many of our students have their first job as a communication specialist for someone in the car industry. I have a student that is working for GM Financial, a graduate, I shouldn't call them students now, a graduate who's working for GM Financial, and he is doing all the internal newsletters for all the different departments around the world and has already been able to travel to a small extent pre-pandemic. I have another student who's a communication specialist for Fiat Chrysler, and they are writing newsletters. So those are very print-based jobs. But I also have graduates who are working out in Dearborn, and they are working with Ford, and they're working with design. Now, sometimes it's car design, sometimes it's actually literature design. So even though it's still print-based, they're doing the graphics for all the print work that Ford publishes. I have students who are news anchors or production personnel in different television stations. We have a recent graduate who's at a TV station in Wisconsin. I have students, graduates, who are working in the radio industry. And very often, just historically, the students who have been interested in radio are not in the booth announcing, they are doing promotions. So if you're used to tailgating and you might see a radio station has a tent up and they're giving away free things and they're broadcasting live from the parking lot, that's the sort of thing that a lot of the mass communication graduates who are interested in radio are doing. And it's called promotions. So it's actually a form of public relations. And a lot of students who graduate start off with a public relations company, and they may be in charge of organizing a campaign or a fundraiser or an event. And there is a lot of writing and speaking in public associated with public relations. So again, the accelerated learning degree helps prepare you for any of those kinds of jobs.
That's fantastic. Seems like there's an endless amount of opportunities and options for our graduates.
Well, and I forgot to mention that we have a lot of people doing digital media content. So we have a lot of people who are social media managers. We have a former student, a graduate, who is the social media person for Harley Davidson, and she knows nothing about motorcycles. And she doesn't really care about motorcycles, but she is very good at knowing what the public who do like Harley Davidson want, and she can direct all the social media for the company toward that target audience. So part of what we do in mass communication is just find the ways that are the most effective to communicate to whatever audience we're working for. So we have several students who go on to work with social media and produce content, or they manage a team of people who are producing online content.
That's amazing. That's great. And so I know in the accelerated program, a key component is flexibility. And so can you speak about how the mass communications degree can offer flexibility throughout the degree or within the courses?
One of the main things that I'm finding historically in the past 8 years, which has been my experience, most of our students who come to us to take the accelerated degree are already working, and many of them full-time. Some of them are juggling families and mortgages, and they have just committed to the pace of those 8-week semesters because they realize they've reached a glass ceiling and they need a degree. It doesn't mean they necessarily need new skills, because what we're doing is giving them the foundation to underpin and be able to justify how they're using those skills. So for instance, we will look at media law and media ethics. We don't ever want to find out any of our graduates have gone to court because they didn't know some of the rules and regulations about the media industry, copyright, that sort of thing. And also we think in keeping with the mission of Rochester University, it's very important that people have a sense of ethics and integrity about the media messages they are creating, whether it's print, online, broadcast. So I think that most people find that they are adding to what they already know rather than having to review the same old subjects that I know has happened sometimes in the past. And no one likes to be bored. So part of the flexibility is offering that sort of advancement. Another aspect of the flexibility is that our classes are fairly small. It's usually under 25 students. And so there's more one-on-one time available for the instructor, whether it's me or someone else, to be able to engage with that student and to listen to that student, especially if there's, a possibility that an assignment's going to be late. We understand from the get-go that if a student is taking the AL degree, they already are leading busy lives. We can't indefinitely ever extend deadlines, but we are always willing to work with a student because we really want our students to graduate and to have success. And so there is some flexibility occasionally when those situations arise, when there's a conflict between their work or personal life and their academics, which is not something that we meet quite so typically with traditional students on campus. There are prerequisites for some classes. We can't let you go and create a media campaign if you haven't learned how to do some of the basics of media writing. So it's not just a matter of looking at the courses and cherry picking them. There is a certain sequence that we recommend, and a couple of ones you do have to have one before you can do the other. And we do that because we think it would be unfair of us to allow you to get confused if we didn't try and guide you so that everything made sense as part of your degree.
Absolutely. It's so great to hear how flexible the program is and just making it so accessible to our students who are working or who have families, but really just also making the courses make sense. And so our students are prepared as they take each course. So that's fantastic to hear. But thank you so much for joining us today, Carol. It was so great to hear from you and learn more about our Accelerated Mass Communications
You're
program.
very welcome. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you. But students, you can check out the rest of our webinar series on our YouTube page. And if you want to learn more about our accelerated learning programs, also if you want to be connected with an accelerated recruiter, you can fill out that form by scanning the QR code on your screen and you'll be connected with one of us. But thank you so much for watching. Hope you learned a ton today. Thank you again.